Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Ethereum is getting very close to activating this bearish pattern ahead of tomorrow's Fed meeting, which could heavily affect markets. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Definitely stick around. First of all, talking about the upcoming FOMC meeting, also known as a Fed meeting, where we get to find out the Federal Reserve's new interest rate policy decision. And as I said in the intro of this video, this new Fed meeting is set to happen tomorrow, where we find out that new interest rate. And tomorrow, it will be actually happening at 6 p.m. GMT time on the 3rd of May once again. And as for the expectations, right now, the majority is expecting a 25 basis point hike, which means raising interest rates by 0.25%. Because in case you didn't already know, right now the high end of the Federal Reserve's target range for their federal funds rate is at 5%. And based on consensus, this is predicting a 5.25% rate with tomorrow's possible rate hike. And based on the trading economics forecast, this is also predicting 5.25% Fed funds rate. So once again, this is an increase by 0.25%, also known as 25 basis points. And now, what does this actually mean for markets? And well, first of all, the futures market is currently pricing in this 25 basis point hike happening tomorrow at a 95% chance, with around a 5% chance of no rate hike, meaning interest rates stay the same with tomorrow's Fed meeting. So essentially, right now, the majority of the market has already priced in a 25 basis point hike, which means if we do end up seeing a 25 basis point hike tomorrow, then that shouldn't really shock markets too much. We could see a little bit of short-term volatility, but most likely nothing too major if we get that 25 basis point hike. But if we see anything other than a 25 basis point hike, that is where we could see a lot more volatility, at least in the short term, in markets. And basically, all you need to know about interest rates and their effect on financial markets like the stock market and the crypto market is that, generally speaking, when interest rates go up, that is bearish for markets, and when interest rates go down, that is seen as bullish for markets. And so it's possible that this 25 basis point hike, which is now being priced into the market, it's possible that this could have been the reason why we've actually seen a decent amount of bearish price action in crypto over the last few days, because that could have just been the crypto market pricing in this 25 basis point hike set to happen tomorrow. But like I said earlier, if we see anything other than a 25 basis point hike, that could bring about more volatility. And once again, the lower rates are, the more bullish that should be, and the higher rates are, the more bearish that should be. Meaning, if we end up seeing no rate hike, which is not very expected, barely anyone expects no rate hike, but if that actually happens and interest rates basically stay the same tomorrow, then we could see a short-term pump across the markets, across crypto and stocks, for example. But on the flip side, if we somehow see a 50 basis point hike, meaning raising rates by 0.5%, then that would likely dump markets in the short term. But once again, those two other scenarios, the no rate hike scenario and the 50 basis point hike scenario, are both very unlikely, not impossible, but very unlikely, which is why if one of those scenarios do end up happening, we would likely see a lot of volatility in the short term. And by the way, as always, I'll be sharing these numbers as soon as they get released in real time over on my Twitter. So if you don't already follow me over there, make sure you're doing that. The link is down below in the description and in the pinned comments. And now, just before getting into the crypto part of this video, while we're on the topic of the Fed funds rate and what the futures market is currently pricing in, if you're looking at the probabilities of rate hikes, rate pauses, and rate cuts across future Fed meetings over the next year or so, what we can see is that right now, based on current market information and these current probabilities, is that we're very likely going to see another 25 basis point hike tomorrow once again. But then after that 25 basis point hike tomorrow, if we end up seeing that happening, then simply based on the highest probability probabilities moving forward, which are currently priced into the futures market, we are likely going to see a pause in interest rate hikes over the next few months after tomorrow's 25 basis point hike. And that pause in interest rates, meaning interest rates staying at the same level, could last all the way until around September to November this year. And then it's likely that towards the end of this year, we will start to see some rate cuts entering into early 2024, which is where we're likely going to see even more rate cuts, meaning interest rates coming back to the downside in early 2024 and even as early as late this year. But once again, that is just based on the current probabilities and the information that is currently available. But between now and then, obviously, information and markets can change. But anyway, now getting into the Bitcoin part of this video. This is on the daily Bitcoin to US dollar chart. And over the last one day, not much has changed here on the daily time frame. And so at least as of right now, despite the one lower high, we have not fully invalidated the larger bullish trend, meaning at least for now, we are technically still within a larger bullish trend. We're just in a large pause within that bullish trend, kind of like what we saw back here, because back here we did end up seeing one bearish confirmation signal, which was of course this lower low in the price of Bitcoin. But just one bearish confirmation signal alone isn't necessarily enough to fully confirm a larger bearish trend in the price of Bitcoin. So of course, despite that one bearish confirmation signal that we saw back during around late February to early March, we still continued the larger bullish trend later on, which is why I'd like to see a break below 27,000 with confirmation before calling for a possible trend reversal on the larger timeframes, meaning a new bearish trend beginning if we start to see confirmed breaks below 27k. And if that happens, if we do end up seeing a confirmed break back below $27,000 per Bitcoin, then we would likely see a drop at least down towards this area of support in between 24k to around 25k approximately. And as for the Bitcoin price oscillators on the daily time frame, obviously these haven't really changed all that much over the last one day. So if you want to know more information about this daily Bitcoin chart, then check out my last video on the channel. But anyway, now zooming into the shorter term, this is on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart. And right now, as I'm recording this video, the price of Bitcoin is experiencing a perfect bounce from this exact area of support, which is sitting in between around 27.5k to 27.8k. And obviously, if you've been watching my recent videos here on the channel over the last few days, first of all, a few days ago now, I warned about this signal in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI telling us that we are losing bullish momentum. And then in my last video on the channel, with this break below this area of support, I said that it's likely we're going to see a drop in the price of Bitcoin in the short term down towards this area of support, which is where we could possibly see a bounce from. And obviously right now we're seeing exactly that happen. And as for the next resistance, I would expect a bit of resistance in this price range in between around 28.7k to 29k. But in a more bullish scenario, if we actually break out back above 29k, then in that case, I'll be looking at this descending line of resistance, which is sitting at around 29.5k. And if we see a breakout above 29.5k, then in that case, I would be targeting towards around $31,000. And as for the short-term momentum, technically speaking, one pump shouldn't be enough to fully confirm a new bullish reversal in the short term. And so instead, I would like to see either a breakout back above some of this resistance or a further reversal here in the RSI, as in more higher lows and higher highs beginning to form in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI in order to become more confident that the short-term bullish momentum is actually back. And as for support, in case we see a rejection from either of these resistance points, first of all, I'd still be looking at this area of support in between 27.5k to 27.8k. But if we actually break below that area of support, then our next support is this level sitting at around 27.1k approximately. And below that level, then we still have this area of support in between between 26.6k to 26.8k. So at least as of right now, in terms of the trend, we're looking relatively neutral, most likely going to see some choppy action here. And then once we start to see more confirmation signals, either a confirmed break back above this resistance or below this support, or more confirmation in a signal here in the RSI, obviously it's at that point when we can become more confident in the momentum and the trend, like what I was a few days ago when we were losing bullish momentum as signaled by the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video. This is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, and right now, as of recording this video, the price of ETH is experiencing a small bounce from this area of support again, which is sitting in between 1770 to 1820. And as for the larger trend at play and these other areas of support and resistance, none of this has changed over the last one day. So once again, if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about what's happening here on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, then check out my last video on the channel. But anyway, now zooming into the short term, this is on the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, and right now, as of recording this video, the price of ETH has bounced from around 1.8k, which is where this previous low is sitting at. But once again, in order to become more confident in a bullish trend forming and more bullish momentum coming into play, we simply need to see more bullish confirmation signals, such as a confirmed break above some of these points of resistance, or ideally a new uptrend beginning to form in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, kind of like what we started to see back here, or even something as simple as a new bullish divergence confirming in the short term, like what we also saw back here, pointing towards more bullish price action. But at least for now, we still have a lack in bullish confirmation signals. So even though we are currently seeing a short-term bounce, once again, in order to become more confident in this turning into a larger trend or more bullish momentum starting to kick in, we need to see some of those other bullish confirmation signals. For example, a break above this resistance, which by the way is sitting in between 1920 to 1950. And if that actually happens, if we see a break above this resistance, then this could be seen as a W pattern or a double bottom pattern. And in that case, if we actually see a breakout above that resistance, then the technical price target for that double bottom pattern would be sitting at just above 2.1k, pretty much exactly where this local high is sitting at. And so for that reason, 2.1k would be the next technical price target if we confirm a breakout above 1950. But for now, this is still the area of resistance to pay attention to. And as for support, these have not changed over the last few days. And now staying on the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, but looking at this potential head and shoulders pattern, obviously right now, this has essentially completed the formation phase, but it is not yet active, because in order to actually activate this technical pattern, we need to see a confirmed break below 1.8k, which is where this neckline is currently sitting at. And at least as of right now, at the time of recording this video, we have not yet seen a confirmed break below 1.8k. So while this remains to be the case, once again, this pattern is not yet confirmed. It is not active, meaning the technical price target to the downside for this pattern is also not in play. It is not active. And if you want to find out what that technical price target is, in case we do end up seeing a break below 1.8k, then watch my last video on the channel, because I talked more about that in that previous video. And now, if you want to know how to maximize your profits in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is either bullish or bearish, and the video in the bottom left shows you how to make money if the price is chopping around sideways. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.